Watch more programs like this on cable and stream with PCN Select. Subscribe at PCNTV.com.
Hi, I'm Beth Hager. I'm the director of the State Museum of Pennsylvania in Harrisburg, and I'm here with our brand new exhibit, Witness to History, Colonel Evanko's 9/11 Field Notes. Colonel Paul Evanko was the head of the state police on September 11th, 2001, and he was in charge of the state police's response and taking care of Pennsylvanians on 9/11. Colonel Evanko is head of the Pennsylvania State Police. Early that morning of 9/11, heard about, as we all did, the first flight that flew into the World Trade Center. And at that time, he went directly to the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency headquarters, where all security agency heads would go. And he immediately started taking down notes. You know, in a world today when a lot of times we're typing into a computer or on our phones, we forget that note-taking on a pad, a legal pad, something that, you know, people still do, but back then that's how Colonel Evanko was registering all of the information that he was hearing that morning, and there was so much of it. Because of his experience and the way he organized his notes, he did a timeline, essentially. He gave a time stamp. He wrote the time down for each fact that came in that morning, and the facts were fast and furious. The first note is very chilling. Originally, apparently, they thought that a plane was flying to the Johnstown, Cambria County Airport with a bomb on board, and it actually says bomb on board, en route with bomb on board. Then he got, at 10:11, was getting more information, and also that an aircraft was down, but it was unconfirmed. And then we see toward the bottom of the note that there was indeed a jet down. They found that out at 10:16. Of course, the Flight 93 had already crashed at 10:03 that morning, so it took time to get these various reports from the field. It is believed that the hijackers were intending to go to Washington, D.C., also that the passengers and crew aborted that attempt by attacking, and the plane was taken down at the Shanksville, Somerset County area. Colonel Evanko wrote about 44 pages of notes. A number of those are what I would call real-time notes and were taken that very morning, and we've selected 8 of those notes that have something pretty critical on each page. His other notes included kind of processing other reports that he was getting and preparing for a final report on the events of the day. The second note we have displayed is interesting because he talks about doubling the number of state troopers at power plants in Pennsylvania, very concerned about security at power plants. He was also concerned about nuclear power plants in particular. And also, he mentions the Fort Pitt tunnels, Liberty Tunnel, Squirrel Hill Tunnel, tunnels at Pittsburgh, thinking that, again, not knowing what was going to happen because so many things were happening on the morning of 9/11. The events were happening, it seemed like every 20 minutes. But he was thinking ahead as what could be a target in Pennsylvania. So he's noting those. Our third note here focuses on what was going on in Harrisburg at the state capitol. He mentions that the Department of General Services, Pennsylvania Department of General Services, was already putting out barriers, and that there had already been an order to evacuate the state capitol building. The fourth note on display of Colonel Evanko's is very interesting. It has several different items on it. At 10:24, he's noting that the lieutenant governor is on his way back. He was out of town on his way back to Harrisburg. A large jet has been confirmed down. 10:38, they were confirming that. In fact, they're declaring it or concerned about it being a biohazard where it had crashed. And also it mentions that making arrangements for the governor to fly. Governor Ridge was in Erie, I'm told, and they were making arrangements for him to get back to Harrisburg and then take him to Shanksville. The difficulty with that was there was a no-fly order in effect nationally, and it took 3 hours for them to get clearance to actually fly Colonel Evanko with the governor and others out to Shanksville on that first day. The way we've organized the exhibit, we have the notes here, but above is a timeline based on Colonel Evanko's notes, the times that he took. So you can already see up here that we have the note about the lieutenant governor on the way back with the blow up of the note. We have the confirmation declaring a biohazard and making those arrangements for the governor to fly. So just to help add some clarity to the notes, to understand the timeline that Colonel Evanko had created and just graphically pull that out and see some of the interesting items that are noted in the notes. One of the most chilling comments that I find in the notes is this note that it says, "Expect this is not over." This comment was made at 12:24. You know, on any day in history when there's a critical event going on, people don't know what's going to happen. Certainly those of us who lived through 9/11, it was such a crazy, chaotic, sad and shocking morning. We did not know how it was going to turn out. And so we have officials, it looks like with FEMA, other officials talking about, you know, what's going to happen next. No one knew. And so there's a great deal of concern and preparedness going on that day to try to anticipate and just be ready for whatever was coming. We're very fortunate in the exhibit to have a special interview of Colonel Evanko, which was recorded and interviewed by Tim Lambert, the news director of WITF-FM, a public media organization here in central Pennsylvania. Colonel Evanko talks about the notes in detail and his remembrances of that morning, and also his remembrances of taking Governor Ridge out to Shanksville that afternoon and having a press conference. We have incredible footage that was taken by Commonwealth Media Services. That footage is preserved by the Pennsylvania State Archives, and that's where the notes are from also. I should mention they are from the collections of the Pennsylvania State Archives, which is a sister bureau to the State Museum of Pennsylvania. Shortly after the 9/11 attacks, President George W. Bush tapped Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge to become the first head of a new Office of Homeland Security. So Governor Ridge resigned his post as governor. This is the original letter, resignation letter, again housed in the Pennsylvania State Archives. We have on display in the exhibit. This was written, submitted on October 5th, 2001, and of course Lieutenant Governor Mark Schweiker became governor at that point, and he would serve through 2002. We invite you to visit the special look and remembrance of 9/11 at the State Museum of Pennsylvania in Harrisburg through Sunday, January 2nd. The exhibit will be on view till that time. We also encourage you, if you haven't visited the Flight 93 National Memorial near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, at the site of the crash, to visit that as well. It's a profound tribute that is very moving and a very important site for all Americans.